Hello, I was just watching about the Congo. Andrew Bordain. They talk about all these when they talk about all these rebel groups and stuff like that in the Congo. Everything was tactically denatured before modern nations because they knew that they were going to tactically make criminally re-engineered internation sciences as the identity of every modern nation, as their relationship to justifications and as fact treatment nature. So, in other words, we have physical delusions that were built as the value of each fact treatment nature, victim predator of every area, of every single modern nation, per an organized crime method. That to counter, you can't counter who's responsible because everyone's a victim predator. With a pathology maintained, terrorism was used to keep this facilitated here and there, to keep reactions for them. Hurt all fake sides. Our human value nature system is methodically recorded, tactically. Each age of fact treatment nature has a racket against it that is what was entrenched in this nation, internation since before America's founders were born. So when they have records that say that George Washington or James Madison had slaves, I don't think James Madison had slaves. James Madison, our founding father, he's the one who made the plan. Now, if they did, they stuck those kind of things to people because they were slaves. In other words, this is just like they had phrase made up by Harry Beecher Stowe, who has a house, part of her life, the one next to Mark Twain House in Hartford, Connecticut, right between New York and Boston. This is where George Washington had to leave slavery right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. This was keeping England in the face of it, but it was not allowed. It was, in other words, it was projecting that as the face of it, as it was painting. I also saw like the end of a movie one time. Female detective throws a gun. I don't know the name of the movie. She throws a gun over it. That's all. I'm not going to go. But the one catches it, and she goes, "Oh, good." In other words, now her fingerprints. In other words, trick fact treatment natures, reactions to database, the database crime. Then it has to cover up live progressions tied to maintain facilitated natures of investigations, internation, juxtaposed with as the value of it to all areas and states, maintained in collusion with internation with no one understanding, as fact treatment nature. So in collusion, motivated to maintain the fact treatment nature of leaders' voices, justifying knaves. Only let be their help. Because that's what forgiveness is for. Because the Campus Martius was criminally re-engineered. So 3 minutes and 23 seconds. Because Andrew Bordain said, how are you going to sum up the Congo? So you instead of saying, oh, rebel groups and stuff like that, that's only important without if you keep doing, you have to address who's going to hold back when we omit human standards, criminally foreign influence by. These are these top-down. The pathology of infrastructure and means to it is criminally foreign influence. There was no free market. There is no free market. There is no righteousness. There was no justification of shared agreements and standards prior to what they call label. They're using on-off campuses rackets and crime methods against each age of fact treatment nature here and there against correlation nature. As correlation in multi-front. Finite value. The science reveals this. We have real fast time used as a weapon. Internation. Fake news. With child predators. Overt. Juxtaposed with other natures of crimes. Per a method keeping it so they keep the interbranch police forms switching names. Forging names. Evidence crimes. And with the courts. Because now these are people who are going interacting with the courts and their family members. Per a method facilitating everyone victims, but victim predators. Fact treatment nature, racket-wise. and then needing to cover live progressions. See, the ancients that criminally re-engineered the Campus Martius, they knew that our nature was demonstrating evolution when we understand that we are fact sheep in nature, and how the just Trinity is manifest with finite, active, and progressive value at the same time, per the nature of the engineering of values perfect for progression, the identity of the value shared by the nature that is in diffusion through temporary space nature, the cause of the great progression, has an identity. Now, that's not debatable. Allah's name was revealed to teach this. That's debatable, but then you can't get people to listen because we have naive fact sheet natures. Like Facebook is fluently used for evidences crimes with interbranch actors and collusion, judges switching names, and then so they could have so at the same time while the investigators with the court and private people with the court influence, stack databases with illusion or stay indifference to it too. They have other people stacking databases, right, in courts through time. So free speech is not let. And what needs to hide that is a whole bunch of federal crime rules, not just with that. Not just interbranch with the actors recorded and involved. Fake news. With their private investigators, their interbranch sources with this. Faking both sides of stories, stealing people's voices. Not just tied to child predators, because is recorded tied to crimes with doctors, tied to courts, and tied to their family members and drug cliques, recorded and confessed by themselves and others, right? In the media too, and fake sides, and both sides of news. News won't fix the fake news. 6 minutes and 58 seconds I've been talking. So Congo. We have to have a voice that understands we need beliefs. Doesn't have to believe in religion. Doesn't have to be Jesus Christ forgiveness, which was just because we're in this trap. Because it's not going to come out of the business that is. We have to lock down the bottom, admit it worse than bottom. Admit that. First, and then take standards in relationship to space and uses of water. Forget about it. You have a Congo. You have that water come up tall parts and go back out. You see what I'm saying? Making energy. That's how the ancients. Do you think they're going to waste their time? They're going to have every place. Evolution. They knew how to cause evolution. Real science. See, fake science needs real fast tricks. With time, fact treatment needs everybody to justify that. Then, when it's not doing the formal work, needs the area crimes. In relationship to the facts too, it needs illusions, and it knows that and keeps it set up because they keep everyone knaves. They keep everyone not thinking and respecting suit and tie and counter to the suit and tie. Each modern nation not understanding it. The Quran is about this. The Quran would defend us. The Quran defends us. Non-believers and believers defends. If you're not trying to get over on the internation criminal enterprises. In other words, internation forced shared police that were juxtaposed with overt criminal enterprise natures and methods of crime that no one could understand. So everyone was forced to. No one could understand quality fact sheet nature because before the time of messengers of religions, of the identity of space and of its semi-nature, the complete identity of space is not in temporary space nature. Came before it, part of its volume, nature of volume, three natures of volume. That's debatable. But what's not debatable? But it's not if you let time. Quality fact treatment nature. The identity, not only positive discernible, but it is as an identity of value is discernible with further positive or negative correlation by nature of a body of value that has the nature of itself beyond our control. Just like our physical body has the nature of positive beyond our control. simultaneously with the active value of our nature, simultaneously with this, the active value of the relationship, the identity of space has to the perfect value progression it's causing as temporary space nature. So yin yang is about this. English has revealed a cross section of our nature and of our nature's relationship to itself. And which it demonstrates itself, but you have to use only what is true always. You say, "Oh, this isn't true." Well, summary. In summary, the Campus Martius was criminally re-engineered. Internation sciences. They knew that they tactically degraded every state of every modern nation's fact treatment nature, and they made jobs and everything, and they made pseudo-positive criminal insidiousness nature, caused in relationship to as the nature of a criminal enterprise and of all its actors, like associate criminals, wrongdoers. See, the devil is an archetypal criminal enterprise, a method to the juxtaposition, to the cultivation, to the furtherance of criminal enterprises that have nothing to do with money. Their agenda was a completely fact treatment nature. It was completely to have what denatured actual means, to discern actual sciences reveal potentials right before our space-based nature. Evolution. They go, "Oh, evolution, religion," and they make passions to each age of fact treatment nature. To each person, individually, grouped together and sequentially, from each area per what was the inter-campus, inter-nation facilitated since before our founders' births. Since before James Madison, before George Washington was even born, this was inter-nation and facilitated, entrenched in America, not per racism, but a breaching organized crime method. What is racism for? For the breaching organized crime method that used color for a fact treatment trick to stay this everyone Oz. Color used by internation agencies of color or not, whatever, all colors, but they were raised not as roles, not understanding, because what they did first was they took over the nature of internation sciences, and then they made everyone else not trust it with their language, consciously. This is what they did to the fact that before they physically divided and conquered the Native Americans, they first physically denatured the landscape, their means to food. First forced them to share a tactical ulterior from natural value nature system, tactically forced inter-nation shared, all as knaves. As sophistication in relationship was developing pseudo-sophistication, consciously needing to have it and keeping, cultivating it, blaming it, discerning its own, only capable of discerning its own sophistication in relationship to breaching, destroyed fact treatment nature around, which is behind criminally foreign influence pathology to infrastructure and to means to it, like how we can get bricks and how we can get everything, nature of it. We're agreed to be abridged natures together, because this was entrenched before our founders. Our founders said, don't let the Constitution stay abridged. And more, but we don't even have free speech defended. Hear many lie. All we have to do is, for forgiveness, what you do is we're going to claim standards in a relationship to nature. See, when in cities throughout the world, they stacked people because they knew that they could keep everyone breaching nature as tools, as fact treatment nature, blaming the causes of it on other and on others, and perpetually, while defending a nature of suit and tie pseudo-positive criminal insidiousness nature, integrity to campuses, per what was his internation, maintained interbranch criminally foreign influence, intermilitary criminally foreign influence, only integrity in relationship to forced retreats, with what's force shared throughout the world like this, and as this, and with, again, with it, blame the causes of it, by fact treatment, blamed on others, and that's defense of a tactically degraded, tactically incapable of countering the fact treatment nature quality we need against the fact treatment nature quality of crime methods recorded that don't even let you report it. We don't have free speech in our face. Fake news fakes both sides. They're in crime roles with their private police, with regular police interbranch together, with fact treatment tricks, hacks with databases, covering that up with rackets because they were raised as victim predators on off-campus roles with prison cliques tied to my area, like Sandy Hook, tied to New Britain, tied to other crimes with prisons proven when there's more recorded. They have roles with child predators. They have roles with probate courts that have no business being for the law with the standards with elderly homes in our means, in conjunction with what is recorded methodically, only letting victim predator roles in cities. It's not about job, and there's no free market here. That's not. There's no integrity to we have sequence shifting. We have trick fact treatment natures. We have evidence fabrication natures, database illusion stacking, fake both sides of news with child predators, with drug crimes, with their own doctors involved with them, with see, because what they're doing, their motivations are not sexual. Their motivations are to hurt each, keep each. They have a conscious cultivation of recorded criminally foreign influence Wethersfield residents in conjunction with the deaths of the internation, police, and families, and overt criminal enterprises, and other with internation cliques, interbranch cliques like tied to a Joe Allen, tied to a Joe DeMar, tied to Eric Klotz down the street. I found them. They started this too. They sequence shift. Now, a Phil Collo, it was recorded and confessed involved. That's reportedly the cousin of him too. Confessed with others that I don't know completely. They pretend they know me through time behind my back because they're covering live progressions from what his cousin confessed and what other people confessed, with courts directing fake sides against correlation nature, fake positions of people. And then they force time treatments and fact treatments where they know that, and they're not they're pretending passions are real with fake information. In other words, we have a nature of child predator, method of child predator that has nothing to do with sex, and they're using the doctors tied to the courts, recorded with roles with this, with evidence crimes. Then they're using all these themes with the movements, because they are also recorded using the nature of the relationship that private lawyers and the courts have. See, the courts have been using it on off their own campuses and on off other campuses criminally, with all kinds of federal crime stacking with fact treatment natures. When they're putting people in jail every day, they're with crime methods covering live progressions tied to that with databases. Torture methods against fact treatment nature through time. Intercity connected. There's a Leahy family recorded and confessed to involved. MPO Floyd recorded and confessed to involved. Forging names, switching names. With the child predators. I've been trying to report the child predator for years. They keep stacking tortures and hurt on me. They're extorting me. And they're pretending other, because they packed themselves into live progressions through time intercity with the same people. Chris Walters, I only know him from trying to contact me. I tried to contact him after because now he's involved with overt child predators. He was when he was a kid. I wasn't allowed to report it. He gave me a affidavit. He was directed to seek me out for evidence crime roles. He didn't want. He didn't have a father. He was raised with criminal foreign influence with a retired detective involved with the rest of the proven. There's two proven child predators. Other natures of crime too. They're also involved with crime spots, with body dumping spots, with the Eric Klotz family. Also recorded and confessed involved with Facebook evidence crimes tied to the body of Billy Grasso, and with people tied to the state judicial branch, like Enzo Fienzo, also recorded with other people tied to the courts with them, that recorded and confessed on off-campus evidence crime roles, recorded and confessed. They pretend other in databases. They're using all different kinds of private police, regular police, intercity, with a crime method that directs people to say what they can, go back and then tell with quality fact sheet in nature, and or a truth at all, and as natures that they have to pretend that aren't their natures, so motivated to evidence crime rules because everyone knows that they're not going to take quality fact sheet in nature. Lawyers can't handle this. This is an ongoing child abuse against. This is ongoing against each age of fact sheet in nature. These are unacceptable standards, trade agreements. What's that mean? It means we have shared police. What's that mean? You're fact sheet in nature. You can't talk. You have to share policing with the stores. These are child predator roles against each age of fact sheet in nature as a oppression in nature. They're setting up like a Heather Hansen and her neighbors. I never tried to contact her. Those people recorded involved with her neighbors, involved with medical corruption, doctors, a bunch of them with all kinds of federal crimes. They've attached me to fake conversations too. A Gilmore, a Cohen guy says that the woman changed her name. He's starting to fight with me and her. I don't know if it's also. That was a recorded confessed tied to the military police and with the on-off campus court police. Also, I didn't know at that time when I started trying to help, when people made confessions about that, tied to a body dumping spot of a serial killer before he was caught, which was a decade ago. This was in the context of 9/11, right before it. And then since intercity connected, and because I kept trying to get an answer and stuff like that, I learned more and more about it, because Wethersfield police are juxtaposed with other police forms, and they're indifferent to their crime roles with recorded child predators because of their roles with evidence crimes with areas in intercampus covering live progressions from recorded states and areas, interbranch family members and leaders, criminally foreign influenced, ill fact sheet in nature, and needing to pretend others are, that they don't even know. And they're pretending things are recorded that are never recorded. They're stacking, database solution stacking to pretend they believe things so they could ignore people's words and say other. They have the news recorded, WFSB. They said they're gonna lie to the or whatever. That's what they're implying. They're gonna lie to the Attorney General because they fake both sides of the story with a child predator, and with judges switching names, and with in court confessions to me and other about their roles with the police and with the court people with rape threats against children and against wives and people and family members of the school. Before the child predator was recorded and confessed, and then they hid that by arresting me. They said I harassed the guy for calling the guy back. I only called one time to report what I didn't even report to him because he was directed to. He said implied by officers tied to a recorded criminally involved anyways. Officers tied to a Mike Levine. Now this is a guy put in prison with a doctor with that prison who was with crime rolls with him with the kids before that, in the form of his roles with evidence, database, illusion stacking, pretending he knows people, forging names with them. And that's why they have judges shifting names, because they have crime rolls also with Sandy Hook and their family members on and off campus with the child predator. And through time, since I was a kid, the same family members tied to Sandy Hook, tied to interbranch corruption, lobbyists, rackets with it through kids, bad people, intercity tied to Trinity College, database solution stacking, untimely death, tied to the same group. My neighbors here, tied to when I was living in other town. They had ties there. I didn't know that at the time. They moved out. Same, tied to the same detective, recorded and confessed involved with the child predators. Recorded already, proven. And further, see, now they can't respond to me because I've been asking my whole life to have a response to this, and they've been breaking the law. I filmed it from my high school health class of Fred Grouzet, before and after his making confessions to me, smoking pot, about his roles with what turns out to be the family members of a probate judge, per them, a Delaferro family, like 4 or 5 brothers, also recorded and confessed involved with the on and off campus crimes of a Dean Alford, and with others associated with the Mike Oliver from boxing. I don't even know where he lives, but he reported and confessed, reported tied to houses next to Trinity too, involved with Johnny Duke, a young girl and stuff like that, tied to those locations that he was involved with, and the names and interbranch, interstate, like prison cliques, with a bunch of girls named Alicia on office campus, recorded and involved with the crimes of the Dean Alford at Trinity College, when I was living next to CCSU but going to College of Trinity. I had already graduated from CCSU, and I had already insights, even though I had nothing to do with those people. I had insights into since I was a kid, there was people associated with that area with drugs with the kids, and they were using that for database illusion stacking. Like they had the database illusion stacking after I filmed my about the on-off campuses drug dealers, also recorded with and confessed with KKK themed crimes with kids, and with doctors. And it turns out there's a Leahy family that was associated with these people. They have them database illusion stacking through time. They direct illusions. They direct like someone to sequential. They're using. They put placements in, they're like mapping out who's going to be where after their class, even for the little 3 minutes, because they want to keep the live progressions they started when I was in grammar school that are recorded in various ways, tied to child predators, proven, not against me, I don't know, but against me, everyone, because they're not letting him. But this is why how is also into religion. There's also the investigators switching and forging names, and with private ones and with doctors switching and forging names, like a Leahy family, women in the family, they're recorded and confessed using for federal crimes against each age of fact treatment nature, with courts, recorded and confessed involved with drug crimes with them, with kids, through time, with database illusion stacking, spreading rumors about people. I never had anything to do with those people in my life. The only exception was after their friends graduated, they called me and made confessions about that. In other words, like, I didn't understand it, but it's tied. He said to a scuba shack, also tied, and they don't let me talk. This is also tied to when I first started the school. They had a kid, I don't even know his name. They call him Bayrock. That's like a company or something like that. They try to do things so that no one could talk, because then maybe people don't want to. But I don't know who that was. They also had a street name near a nursing home, one of the nursing homes currently involved. They juxtapose the natures of crime, natures of police, natures of judges, natures of courts, natures of relations to the areas, and justifications of themselves. They have no right to the justification of it. You see what I'm saying? This is how you win America. You claim a nature to space that's going to evolve as science. That's truth, and truth always, progressively. What doesn't do that, it needs to have a database, needs to stay and justify itself as a nature that can't counter all the nations that are facilitating this together. It was coming right through internation to keep all nations' roles here and there and everywhere. The motivations for it are completely fact treatment tied. Criminal justice with our nation shared. Also recorded and confessed filed with the Alicias, with on-off campus with the deans. Also a dean judge.